On this episode of the Wealth Alchemist podcast, I have my beautiful friend, Meghann Conter, on the show with me. She is the founder of The Dames, a community of 6 to 7 figure women in business and C-suite execs. This woman knows how to build a safe, fun, and loving community that only gets better as it grows. She shares her experience on building a community that spans 5 continents and how she embeds her values into create a thriving, growing, and engaged community. She also talks about the death of business cards stabbing and how to open up to power partners to grow your business. If you are a person who wants to build your own community or be able to get and give more within the communities that you are already a part of, this show is full of gold for you. Please enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Wealth Alchemist podcast. I am Keri, Norley, your host, and today I have Meghann Conter with me. I'm already laughing because before I even introduce her to you, she's one of the funniest people I know. She's one of my dearest friends. Meghann uses her power to connect, elevate, entertain, and celebrate extraordinary women as the CEO of The Dames, a global community designed specifically for women running and leading 6 and 7 figure businesses. She believes that anything can be accomplished through fearless collaboration, laughter, fun, and love. Once a burnt out, over-networked CEO, she is now the global ultra connector for women who thrive in the space where self-worth and net worth align. Learn more about The Dames and Meghann at thedames.co. And that is all so freaking true. It is so good to have you on the show. As I said, Meghann and I I'll give them how we know each other. We actually met through our kids at school. So our kids are in the same grade together, same class. And when we moved to Colorado, actually, her stepdaughter was one of the first friends that Robbie made. And they are still friends to this day. It has brought us together. It has brought us in community in so many ways. She is a dear friend in my life, a beautiful person to collaborate with. I absolutely adore this woman. And it is an absolute honor to have you on my show. So welcome. It's about time you got here.
Yes, the feeling is so mutual. It has just been ever since day one, so much play and fun and joy and yes, collaboration. And I have hired you, as my coach. You have been part of The Dames for, how many years have you been here now? I can't remember.
It's been a few years since I've been in the group. Yeah.
A few years now. And it's just been so great to have you in my life personally and professionally. And you just bring me way more joy every day.
I love you. Thank you.
I love you.
So today I wanted to talk to Meghann because Meghann I have watched her build this over the years, and it's been an absolute amazing experience to watch, actually. And so one of the things that she does, and she said it in here so freaking well, is build community, and not only community, but an engaged, loving, kind, collaborative community of people who are really working together to support each other in growing their businesses. And she has a very, very unique way of doing it. And so I really wanted to have her on the show to actually explain how does she do this? Because especially now, more than ever in the world, right? We have these online communities being built, and people are more separated than ever. And so bringing us together in community has become even more important, I think, for us to be able to thrive in life, period, regardless if you have a business or not. But also, there's a lot of people in the world who are growing their following, growing their influence. It doesn't mean that you also grow your community. And so I would love to have you start to kind of dive into how that you've done that. And I'll guide you through some questions. But first, let us know, what was the inspiration for you in starting The Dames in the first place?
Yeah. So I started my marketing business back in 2009 and really went through a grand series of evolutions, as I know that you understand. And I had 5 different business names with 5 different logos and just kept changing and shifting and evolving. And all of those businesses were definitely in my zone of competence. And I was very good at the things that I was doing in marketing and coaching and branding and et cetera. And it wasn't filled with a lot of ease and flow for me. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of deep, intense, having to remember things all the time and having to manage a lot of details and having to really be absorbed into someone's business, which I loved playing Tetris in business and helping women really get the most out of their marketing foundation. And it just wasn't easy. So when I sort of looked at that and said, there's this spirituality element that's coming into my life. And in this element of spirituality and consciousness, I'm learning how to trust in my intuition and listen to it and follow it. And so when I got this universal download for this community that was, initially here in Denver called the Denver Dames, I thought, oh, well, that sounds fun. And it was initially built as a lead generating community for my marketing business and a way for me to gather together all of my power partners, all of my friends, all of my clients, everybody together in this space of a very different kind of community. So it was kind of both of those worlds coming together, the spiritual and the human world, which still to this day is something that happens for me all the time. It's this bridge that I am, that I know that you understand. And that really was the inception, just trusting in my intuition and saying, okay, I'm going to have these community events and they're going to be reverse mullet style. So we're going to have humor in the front, business in the back. I was bored at the time by most of what was available out there in community. And I thought, let me just check in with some other ladies who are see if they're experiencing the same things. And of course they were. And they were also really in a space where they wanted to be surrounded by their peers who were going through similar challenges and celebrating similar accomplishments. And so that's when Denver Dames was born, as this community locally for women running 6- and 7-figure businesses to laugh, learn, and grow together. In 2017, so that was 2015, in 2017, we'd gotten our proof of concept. I knew that it was working. And another big universal download came in for me. And it's time to make this an international community. It's time to expand this baby and to give it, ultimate, infinite expansion powers. And so that's when I rebranded to the Dames. We started to build our online membership platform and really launched that in December of 2017, moving into 2018, where we really started picking up steam because I now had a vision and it was clear. It was this international community of women all around the world supporting one another, helping each other as we grow from 6 to 7 figures. Another guiding light for me was the fact that 2% of female-owned businesses get to that 7-figure mark. And that has always depressed me. And I don't like to be depressed. So I like to create solutions that make me happy and make everybody else happy. And to me, it's not about the 7 figures as anything other than what we can do with that money, right? It doesn't mean that that person who's running that business is any more significant than anyone else, but we can certainly achieve our epic missions easier once we get to that level and beyond. We can create sustainable company cultures that are dynamic, and we can employ so many different people. We can really, as women, change the paradigm and make it into this universe full of women who are running powerful businesses. So it's really part of this overall paradigm shift that I'm seeing, that I've seen ever since 2017. So we really started picking up steam, began launching chapters outside of Denver and getting virtual members all around the globe who qualify based on that 6- and 7-figure business and are a culture of collaboration fit. So I'm sure you have more additional questions, but just to give you a fast forward to today, we are 500 members across 37 of the United States and on 5 continents, with 10 chapters in different markets and growing. So it's all coming true. And that vision that I have is still right there in front of me, and it holds me and it pulls me every day.
It's so amazing. It's so amazing. I remember when I was just sitting here thinking, actually, like I must have started playing around in the Dames or coming to the first events when you first came into like it being the Dames, because I don't remember it being Denver Dames. And then it was like, I think about that. That was soon after, because you spiraled with me 2019, which is when you hit your first international. Emma came in, Aussie, of course, and Aussie
Yes.
is her first international, while you were spiraling with me. And that was 2019. So like, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That's really amazing.
We didn't even become a legit business until 2019. So that's when we formed the Dames as a separate entity. And then a little celebration for me is that in December 31st, 2019, I actually officially closed my marketing business. And at this point, listen to me catching my throat there. At this point, I only work with clients if it brings me ultimate joy and if I'm really guided to, but it's a rarity. I am fully invested and fully embedded in the Dames and growing and scaling this business with keeping our community at that culture of collaboration level and really growing that.
I have to say, as a person who's witnessed you and helped mentor you, like, not mentor, healing work and spiraling and all these things with you, it's been an absolute joy to watch you let go of that, because you said it, like, you were so unhappy, you were so stressed out. Like, I just saw it, your whole face has changed as you've let go of this, because you don't have all this, minutia to deal with. It's still a lot to deal with running this company, but like, the joy that's in your face and in your heart now, and the collaboration that happens now, and the way that you are creating time in your schedule as somebody who was a slave to your calendar before. I mean, like, to me, that is hugely, and I say this because we're going to start talking about community, but I'm going to say this especially because when you start leveraging community like this, and I don't mean it in like a, take advantage of, like, you start to build community like this, your time gets leveraged. And I know for me, where I'm working with my programs is like, I will have 2 programs at this point. Like, this is what I'm looking at. 2 programs that are going to move forward, building community. And I'm like, wait, I have to work a couple hours like a week to hold like it, plus a Facebook group and the other things that go around it. But like, I don't have to show up for one-on-one calls. I don't have to fill my calendar. I could have all this, like, what? And like, oh, my whole body breathes of like, yes. And this is what we've been working towards, both of us, for a long time. And I say this because I invite this conversation in for everybody else. Like, the power of building community means freedom in your schedule and joy, and like literally reducing lines on your face, and happiness, and less stress, and more health. It is so freaking powerful. And not only that, but then the other piece of it is like, what happens for everybody else within it is so huge. I think so many people depend on this one-on-one aspect of work because that's where they think they have to be, and that's where they're going to get the most power with their clients. But like, hello, community and coming together. Like, there's like, I don't know everything. You don't know everything. Nobody here knows everything. And we bring people together, like the power of actually the masterminding and the connections like that. It's
exponential.
Yeah. It's priceless. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's even just the transformation that I've gone through. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, whoa, I used to have a 100% dependent on me one-on-one business that required me to be present in order to make money at all times. Like, and a lot of hours a day, like you said, I worked my ass off. I worked way freaking too much and had the stress to show it. And then I'm now waking up and I have 100% recurring income. And it's a space of total, like, I had to let go of the old, for sure. I had to like let that old me that had to do XYZ so that this new me could be born. And all the way along, I was trusting in my intuition that was telling me, keep going, keep building this thing. Like, this is where you are moving. This is growth. This is scale. This is how you make impact on thousands and then tens of thousands and then millions. This is how you do it. And trusting in that, letting the old me fall away was so important. And I think it's interesting because you said building community, and there's the conversation to be had around like, building community doesn't have to mean that you have to start your own community. It can be that, but you can join in community that already exists and still be building community.
Yes.
You can build your own power partner network. You can build your own, girl tribe, whatever you want to call it, or crypto community, or community of doctors, or community of whatever. And it doesn't have to be you building a whole big community, but it is key to have that support system around you. And as you grow as a woman, women for centuries have needed the company of other women. It's been much more fulfilling, and communities have thrived when women can support one another in being the best versions of themselves. And that's been proven time and time again. And I see that every single day in the Dames, every day.
Every day, totally. Okay, before I ask the next question, I want to ask you something that you just talked about, was talking about how you had to let go of your old self to be able to step into this new self. And like you say it so like, oh, it was so easy. oh, I had to have the death of my old self. And I think, and I want to bring this to tension here, because this is a place that most people, most entrepreneurs at some point have to go through multiple times, let's be honest. But when we hit these points, like I was saying to you, even for me, like in the place I'm at, you know, you and I have both known that I've journeyed this last year, a lot of death to let go of, a lot of things that have not served me to be able to step into this place. It's not easy, you know, and I think a lot of people, and I think this is where a lot of people, especially in the spiritual community, they stop, but especially because they're like, oh, there's a roadblock. Oh, the sign's telling me no. Oh, this is too hard. It's supposed to be easy. And I want to go like, hello, woman, wake up. It's not easy. You know, it's not easy. You're going to have to go through these really uncomfortable times. And when you ask, especially when you're intuitively guided, people look at me all the time like, well, how do you know? It's your intuition. I'm like, I just trust it. It is not. And oftentimes people think that intuitive hit is the easy one. It's often the hardest one. It's like, I don't want to do that. You have to do that. I don't want to do that. You have to do that. I'm like, ugh. So can you just share a little bit about your experience of that piece of moving through it and what that was like for you? Like every time you had to say yes to something that was like, this is really freaking uncomfortable.
Yeah, man. I think that there will be a book that I write at some point about that journey, and I'll try to have to remember to go back in my mind and find all of those points. But I can tell you that it started for me when I was 2012. I was in a retreat and I learned that I didn't love myself and that I'd always been getting love from the outside. And that began my self-love journey, which was really the catalyst for everything else that started to change, because that old me was like a separate person. It wasn't the self. And so I had to come together to understand that the big self and little self were one person, but allowing that to actually come together. And man, we could go in so many directions with this. But then from that point, realizing there's a lot of like bumps. I hit my head 15,000 times. I got walloped by spiritual 2x4s and run over by tractor trucks. And, there were times when I was just like, I don't even know what this is. I'm getting these messages and I'm not sure what the hell I'm supposed to do with them, but I'm just going to kind of ignore that. And I'm going to follow the experts and I'm going to watch their models and I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to grow my marketing business the way that the others tell me I should. And that's why it took so dang long for me to even get to a 6-figure business, was that I was seeking everything from the outside as opposed to sourcing it from the inside. So when I started to learn how to tap into my intuition and learn how to listen to it and learn to trust it and learn that, yes, there are times when you're going to get these downloads of these messages that you're like, what? Like in 2017, when I got the very clear message, build an online community that's virtual so that you can have mostly virtual events. And yes, you'll still do these connection events in person, but build this full virtual community. I didn't even know why I did that until March 15th of 2020.
Oh yeah.
And that was
thriving then
3 years later, right? Then that's when it was like, that's why my intuition was so strong in building this. And no matter what, I had to do it. But to answer your question, there are those moments that you come into, and I like humor. So for me, that's where things go to. There are these moments where you feel like you're wearing frozen underwear and a brass bra, and you're standing outside in 30-degree below weather, and you're squeezing yourself through the eye of a needle that you don't really want to go through, but you have to go through, and you have to go through it, and you don't know what's on the other side, but you know that there's so much freedom on the other side. So you finally decide, okay, I've done this before and I didn't die, so I think I can do it again. I know I can do it again. Okay, I'm going to do it again. And the first several times, the first 100 times, it's really uncomfortable. And it does get easier, quote unquote, from the standpoint that you're not going to die, or probably not going to, but it doesn't get easier from that standpoint of, God, this is uncomfortable. And here I am with this freaking frozen underwear again. And how did I get here again? But allowing yourself to continue to go through the eyes of those needles with everything that you spiral into, and the journeys that you're like, how am I here again? Why am I having issues with this again? Why is relationship coming up in my fuck me list? Why can't I get this? It's because it's part of your path. And so you get to choose to either deal with it now and heal from it and shed the old you to embrace the new you, or get hit by it 10 times harder the next time it comes around. So I think I took us on a Mr. Toad's wild ride there, but there's no like linear path with any of this. And if you think there's a linear path, you're probably just confusing yourself. And following that intuition is what's the key to all of this. And no matter how crazy it seems, following those hits that you get.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. So true. I 100% with you in the frozen panties, of course, and the breast bra.
Yep.
Purple breast bras, apparently.
Yep.
So, okay. So let's talk about community and how you have ultimately created the Dames and help some others be able to do this for themselves. Again, and I love how Meghann, you said it, like whether it's tapping into other communities there. So even joining in the Dames, if this is the appropriate path for you, or creating your own, or both. Right. Do both. So when you started to think about the Dames, and I love how for you that it was like you knew because of the 7-figure mark, and it's something that drives you, and it's such a huge value or part of the Dames, right? Like to allow people, and one of the things I've said to Meghann for years around this is like the place to come to celebrate, right? Because so often in the world we are cut down when we have our successes, right? Yep. And so I know that's a huge part of your value within this group, but like if other people are sitting here really thinking like, okay, I want to create community, what are ways that you could think of, or you can support, you could help people with right now? Like what are some of the things that they could look at, values, or how they would build it, or when they first start to think about it, where are the first steps?
Yeah. So I was lucky enough to have the marketing background that I have and work with clients to create their own businesses, their own products, services, their own communities, and really doing that from a space of understanding themselves first. So that's where you've got to start, right? Is truly tapping into that alignment with your core, which is in the form of your values, your vision, and your mission. And I don't mean this from that standpoint of like something you have to check off your list. Like, yep, I have to do this because it's got to go on my website. This was a journey for me for years to really, as I evolved and grew and changed in my business, to get very clear on what drives me no matter what. Well, fun, love, intuition, growth, and flexibility drive me every single day. Those are my top values, and fun and love were at the forefront of everything. So I knew that the Dames was going to need to be built with those two values as the foundational elements. So everything that we do is built on that. We have the fun side of the events and everything that we do in the community. We've got the love that comes from this space of hugging and energetically hugging and virtually hugging and really seeing each other very clearly. And then we had this mission of getting more women to the 7-figure mark and getting more women into the C-suite. And we have this vision of a world of women coming together to really create those dynamic company cultures, achieve their epic missions, and to be able to be a sustainable employer. And those are the things that have driven me from day one. And those are not just something that sit on a shelf. They are imbued and embodied in everything that we do. And that's the filters that we make decisions based upon in the team. Like, do we do this? Do we not? Does that filter through any of our company values, which are a little bit more deep now that we've explored it even more, but everything goes through those filters and the standards that we've built to make decisions as to whether we move forward with one objective or another. So knowing those three elements and then knowing your target market, I knew from day one who we were here to serve. I was very clear on that. And I also experienced a lot of female business owners being really scared to declare who it is that they're here to serve. And it pains me because it takes them 10 times longer to make the significant changes that they're here to make. And that's what I knew from day one, was that when I declared this particular market that I'm here to serve, the 6-figure woman bringing the 7-figure woman in front of her so that we can see that it's possible and we can be that too. And then bringing the education, the resources, the power partner connections all together to be in support of that woman as she's growing her 6-figure business to 7. I knew that from day one. That's key to building any community, because people recognize that they are either that's for them or that's not. they come to an event and they see the humor and they're either, bounced right out, or they're like, yes, finally a community where I can say fuck and I can say shit and I can, I can
Cry and laugh.
Yes, there is this like laughter element. And then there's the crying element, because personal growth is like really embedded in there. And so is spiritual growth, and to an extent, and so is professional growth. And this is a space where I can truly be myself and be vulnerable and share what it is that's going on for me. And creating that ecosystem that's made up of a lot of different ingredients is what is key to building high quality community that will grow.
Just a quick pause in the show to let you know about an upcoming program I'm running called New Wealth from Crypto. I have been on a journey to learn about becoming fully financially sovereign, meaning breaking free of the banking system. Whilst you can fully break free, you don't have to completely remove yourself from the banking system. And I highly recommend that you learn about decentralized finance. If you haven't heard me raving on about it in my other podcasts, please go and check out the third podcast with Roscoe Pattison on DeFi now to go and get the understanding of what I'm talking about. And in the meantime, know that there is a way for you to make 5 to 27% plus safe and stable returns with minimal time invested. Yes, it's in the crypto space. No, it's not volatile like Bitcoin. As the governments print more money and inflation gets higher and higher, it is more and more important for you to know how to free yourself from the banking system and to be able to hold your money and create these amazing returns. New Wealth from Crypto is my program to teach you everything you need to know about investing for yourself and setting up your own portfolio in a safe and stable way. This has completely changed my life, and I'm going to rave on and on and on about it. Trust me, if I can do this, so can you. Also, it's important to know that timing matters in this. You have an opportunity right now to get into this space at the forefront of its growth. So many people already look at crypto and think, I wish I had gotten in when I got the first nudge, and are kicking themselves right now that they didn't. Are you one of those people? Do you want to be one of those people? Consider this your nudge from the universe right now. Don't wait. Reach out today. Email me at Keri, Keri, at Keri Norley, KeriNorley.com for more info today. And now back to the show. So true. It's interesting. I love that you say that around like claiming your market. And I mean, you know my journey with it, right? The first time we met, she's like, what do you even do?
And yet I knew that it was growing in you.
And even throughout this last couple of years, like there's been iterations of who it is that I help and what I do. And every time that I step more into, and every time that you even just claim it for that part, like you're like, okay, this is what I do now. And then you find out, like, even with stuff when I was working with like, okay, I'm gonna help trust fund babies. I was finding out, was like, actually, this is not an easy market to help. And I knew when I was going into it, this wasn't going to be an easy market. Cause how do you know, like, does people have trust fund babies? So then I came into Dames, I was like, all right, let's work with financial planners who have this. And it was really like, it was quite an interesting thing to meet the resistance of it. And I was like, all right, I gave it a go. I tried this. And it's not that I'm not open to that now. And it's not that I'd never go there again, but it's like, I gave it this like really good crack for a while, like coming in and talking about it a lot. And it was like, there still was met with a lot of like resistance around it. And so I was like, okay, I tried it. This isn't as easeful as I didn't think it would be easeful in the first place, but it also was like, well, it also was a really, really, really beautiful. It still is, to anyone who wants to have this niche and can make your way into it. Like I said, I still don't think that it's away from me. I just think it's not my only thing anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think that more and more people eventually like will come for this exact reason. But it isn't the only thing. And it took me standing in it though, testing it out, seeing the reaction to people and being like, well, they're excited, but that doesn't mean that they're going to send me anyone. And it was really, to me, fascinating how many financial advisors would speak to me. They're like, oh my God, they are my biggest pain in the ass clients. I'm like, I know, I've been one. I understand. That's why I want to help your client. And yet they had the resistance to actually having, and part of it may have been like, I didn't describe it well enough, but when I described it, they all totally got it. that whole
Right.
thing. But I was like, and that's okay. Like, I don't regret that. I don't regret standing in that. I don't like, it really helps me evolve into where I am now. And I think it's a really important piece to say that, because it's okay to try something and have it be
Yeah.
like, that's flat, that's not working, let's shift this. Maybe it's the language I'm using, maybe it's
And
the
yeah, until it comes out of your mouth, you don't even know if it's going to hit for you. Really. I mean, if you're an external processor like you and I are, like we have to be able to say it out loud, and we're thinking about these things in our head as we're evolving. And that's, that's part of it, is that there's this balance between the spiritual and the human that you and I talk about, which is, in my intuition, I was being guided, and it was like, you specifically need to work with these 6-figure women who are growing to 7 figures and have, it's the first 10 million in revenue. Like the 6 and 7 figures is that first 10 million. And I'm like, okay. And I needed to get that outside confirmation, which I did. In the beginning, I did several focus groups where I said, okay, here's what I think are all of our needs, but I want to make sure that it's everyone else's needs too. So I asked all the hard questions, and I got clear on what's this ecosystem that I need to build for these women so that they feel like, yes, this is home for me. Yes, this is where my needs are going to be met in community. And so that's what you're doing as you've been evolving, is like testing it out and saying, is this it? Not quite yet. Is this it? Not quite yet. And it's a process. It's a journey.
And it's the feedback comes by claiming it, right? The feedback comes by like, because then even though I would say it, and then I'd have someone would come in, oh, I want to have this conversation with you. And then maybe be like, well, what have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Like, because that's where you get the feedback. But if you don't decide that this is who I'm going to help at this point in time, and be willing to be like, all right, I'm going to bring myself in, then you lose a lot. And also, as far as community goes, people don't know who you are, like, to come, like you're not holding a pillar for who to come. Right. And so even now, like, as I talk about crypto stuff and financial sovereignty, I mean, I'm not talking about how I can help you in the fiat currency and the, no, go talk to a financial advisor about that. And I have many of them within the dames that are freaking amazing who would educate you on that. And I would have no problem sending them that way. But like, we have to hold a pillar for what it is, like, that we fully stand for. Otherwise
otherwise there's nothing for people to see.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're not holding that pillar or a flag or whatever it is you want to hold, a golden staff, what should we hold? It should be something like a bat signal, but like I should hold a dame signal or something. But if we're not holding that thing and saying, this is what I'm standing here for, people just don't know to see us.
Right.
Yeah. They don't know where to go.
So once they've built that, so one of the things Meghann was talking about was values, and she's so true. Like when you go to a dames event, especially like the in-person events, and last year when we had them online, but like the big events that you have, and I will explain the difference, because you have quite a few different types of events. There is always a comedian. There's always some sort of comedy thing that's there. Meghann is an improv player. She's freaking hilarious. The more you hang out with her, I'm surprised we haven't had accents yet from you. They'll come, I'm sure. I usually can't get through a conversation without one. And so there's always, like, she's doing improv to explain things. There's always so much fun that is had. You can't go to an event with Meghann there and not laugh if it's a dames event. And so like, this is the part of like, so then once we've built this community and we've created the values that are important for you, like then we have to embed them into the community. And so I'm curious, like besides values, right? Because you've also created a space of safety. And as this group has grown, like I'm going to guess, because there's now, would you say 500 members now? Right? Like she's not kidding when she says love and personal development, because I know I have seen the posts that have come in from women that have been like, or shares in groups or whatever, that have been like, oh my God, my staff is falling apart. This is going on, like, and everything is wrong. My marriage is this, da, 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 da. And like, you can feel the tears coming from the woman. And it's this really beautiful, safe space. And then the next part, there's never one comment that is anything besides love and like absolute, like, even if we don't know what to say to the person, we're just like, oh my God, this sucks. I'm so sorry for you. We're sending you love. Right. And then there's other people who will come on and be like, okay, I've been here. Do you want to get on a call? Like, it's so giving and so safe. And so I'd love to hear, like, how have you been able to, as it's growing, because I think a lot of people lose that in the growth, right? A lot of people lose that in the growth. And I know there's a lot of people who fear growing community because we lose that ability to be safe and create that. So I'd love to hear, like, how have you created this community this way from the top down?
Yeah. So from that, there's sort of like the internal aspects and then the external aspects, right? So from the internal aspects, it's building a team that I've had that of supporters that has always been a service first mentality and has been a very loving team, right? So they are not only in our team for each other, but also externally to our clients, to our members. It's always been this like, we have this culture of service, we have this culture of love, of contribution. And in finding our chapter presidents as we grow and expand, it's finding others that share that same love of others, that same relationship value of really wanting to build community and being innate connectors. So we are a community of innate connectors and presenters who love to be of service, but who love to also understand and help others understand that, gosh, there are some really hard times that we're all going to go through, and personal growth is so important. I think so many business communities like cut people off at the neck as it relates to their personal growth. And so for me, all of the things that I experienced pre-Dames, I knew that I was going to change and completely flip the script. It was like I would go to retreats or I would go to certain events and I would feel like this mounting tears just coming up into my throat and feel like I am the only person who's dealing with this. And if I cry right now, I'm going to be the biggest asshole and people are going to, and that's how I was received when the tears would come and I would need to cry. I was like, oh my God, this is like the worst place to do this. And I felt like the worst person. So I knew that as we're growing as business owners and as women business owners, we need to have that safe space to be ourselves. We need to have that safe space to let whatever emotions we have come up, because we are women. We are women with emotions, and we need to be able to receive and give in a space of equanimity and in a space of love and support. And if we don't create that space of love and support, then we are those assholes. So that has just been part of the culture that I've embedded into the training of our chapter presidents, of our team members, the brand foundation that's documented that shows everyone what our recipe is for how we build this culture and how we're continuing to build this culture. And it continues to come out more and more, but it's this, it's the messages that we repeat over and over again, like you can only grow as much professionally as you're willing to grow personally. And that collaboration is the new, move over competition. Collaboration is where everything is at. So it's a whole bunch of elements that I knew I needed to keep right in front of us. And I continue to keep right in front of us. That's the key to not letting it get diluted and not letting it go unseen. And really, so that's from the inside. The external is, for me, it was always surrounding myself by those who supported me and could really validate me, but also could say, this seems a little off. Like maybe you should try this. And so growing the community from the very beginning, it was always like, hey guys, I'm an open book and I need your feedback. So if you see something that seems off, or if you see something that like just doesn't feel quite right and I'm missing it, I give you full permission to tell me, and I give you full permission to give me that feedback as I'm growing this. And so that's, yeah, I mean, it's just been like, I want to know these things because I'm one person and my team are some people, and we hear things and we talk about them. We make sure that we're building the best community possible, but I can't see everything. And there are some feedback that when it comes in, I'm like, yep, that's not for me. Boom. Yeah, that's not the kind of community I want to build. You're absolutely right. We are not going to be, this is not a space for selling one another your services. That's exactly correct. We are an anti-business card stabbing, anti-hunting organization. So if you're here in need of, hunting for end clients, this is not your pond. Go find a different pond to fish in. So it's, yeah. Hopefully I answered your question somewhere.
It is. It's like, it's ultimately what I'm hearing you say is that your values, and it's like in every way that you can. And I say this for anyone who's growing their communities, like whether it's through your trainings. And so, like I said, Meghann has live events, but also every month there's like it's growing, but there's at least 4 events every month, more than that, because we have the happy hours, have power partner trainings. There's the $1 million businesswoman every month. So we get to hear from one of the 7-figure businesswomen who are amazingly inspiring. There's skills trainings that are from the communities. So there's so many different ones. And even in the skills trainings, like there's a framework that if you're not going to live into this framework and show up this way, then don't do a freaking training for us. And so all of the values, it's not like I have to be a comedian to do a training, but like for the most part though, and even then, like, I don't know anyone there that hasn't found some form of way of showing up being funny at some way, shape or form. And so it's like imbued, it's like knowing the values and saying, how does this come into? And I think this is important when you start to look at like the way that you develop your programs, the way that you develop your curriculum, and the way that all of that happens. And of course, like you do the best you can wherever you are, like, and then it can always evolve, right? The trainings were not the same 4 years ago as they are now. The space that was held was not the same as it was 4 years ago now. And it's evolved, and it's even better than it was. It was even better in the way that it's shown up. But like start wherever you are, to just like, even if you just start to look like these are my top values. Okay, how can I put that into my programs? How can I show up like that online? How can I, and I think that is, and how can I show up that within other people communities?
Totally. It's your values, but it's also what message do you want to broadcast out there, and being very clear on that and making sure that it shines through in everything that you do within your organization and outside of your organization when you're marketing it. So it's having that consistency and message where I'm not reinventing the wheel 10 times a day. I'm saying the same thing 10 times a day, and my team is saying it, and my chapter presidents are saying it, and we have the same messages that are going through because new people are hearing it, and new people are hearing it at different layers, at the deeper layer. And so I just want to say something about when you're building community and you are the leader. It's my belief that the most important quality of a leader is vulnerability and transparency. Authenticity is one thing, but transparency is another. And people have said to me, like, wow, it's amazing that you'll get on a call and you'll start crying if you need to cry, or you'll, if you're, whatever needs to happen, you allow it to happen. And it's because we're not all together all the time. Like we don't have our shit together all the time. And if we give off this perception that we do, it just dishonors everybody else around us, because then they feel fucked up when they have moments come up that they get brought to their knees. You know what I mean? And so for me, it's this being that person who falls on my face and says it, and says, wow, I've gone through a really tough period of time, or I don't know where the heck I am right now. And sharing that means that I'm giving other people permission to be 100%. Wherever they are, whenever they are, and to really feel good about themselves.
And it shows up in the community too, because I know I've gotten on calls with other dames, and both ways it goes. Like I'm like, someone will go like, how are you? I'm like, actually, I just want to cry right now. Like it's a fucking hell of a day and I don't know what I'm doing. And they're like, you've just met this person. And then all of a sudden you're really good friends, because like, instead of it being like, I'm going to sit here and pretend that I'm in business and it's all so perfect. I'm like, no, this thing is blowing up in my face. And then they might have a solution, right? Yeah. It's like, we don't, and it's so beautiful, but because it comes from you all the way down. Now the last piece, which is, I know your favorite piece that I want to drop into, is the part around how you built it. So ultimately, through power partners, and this is such a huge part in collaboration. So Meghann's talked about this already throughout this conversation, the importance of collaboration, and how the Dames is not about throwing a business card at somebody. It's about collaborating. And so I would love to have you drop into wherever you want to go with this, because I know Meghann could talk, literally there are multiple power partner trainings and collaboration trainings within the Dames in and of itself. But this is exactly how she has grown it and how she has helped support hundreds of other Dames to grow their businesses as well, inside of the Dames and externally. So go ahead, tell us the things you want to say.
Exactly. So I feel like I need to do this pot with an accent just so that I can come in and like at least have dropped into it one time throughout this interview, because otherwise I wouldn't be myself.
Of course.
So honestly, I am an only child. And so for me, I wasn't born with community in my house. Yes, I had my parents. They were great. And when you're a kid, you don't want to hang out with your parents all the time. So I had to go out and curate my community. I had to find my people and then bring them in, right? So I would create little businesses and I would create parties and I would create, fun experiences for my friends to come together. And that was me as a youngster building community. So that's where I came from, was like, if I have this community of people around me to support me, I can do anything. So when I did start the Dames, it was this space of, okay, I have this new concept and I have this community of people, business owners around me that I've already built. And I want to tell them what my idea is. I want to tell them what my idea is. That sounded like I'm all of a clamped. More of a clamped. We have this idea for this community, and I need to know that I'm not crazy. So I'm going to go out there and I'm going to see if, like, what people think about it, etc. But from the very beginning, what I learned in old networking, in the paradigm of old networking, was accumulate as many business cards as you can, go to as many events as you can, get known, just meet as many people as you possibly can. And then maybe someone somewhere in there will need to hire you as their marketing coach or something, or they'll come to a workshop or whatever. And that's what networking
if they find your business card at the bottom of the pile.
Right, exactly. Or if you maybe did a little bit more follow-up and due diligence and friended them on Facebook, so you could have a prayer that you would remember them. And so that's what I was doing for a long time. And I just got to this point where I was like, holy crap, I am burning the candle at both ends. I'm networking morning, noon, and night, because I think that this is important and I really crave it. And I crave this community and this, but man, it's not translating to a whole lot of cheddar for me at all. In fact, like, the only thing it's really doing is maybe filling these $47 or $97 or $127 workshops that I was doing at the time. So I like to say that I entered into the networking witness protection program. I put myself on a networking cleanse. And I said, I've got to change this somehow. I was part of a mastermind group and they taught a concept that was similar to the power partner concept that I teach. And so I started playing around with it, tinkering with it, playing with, okay, if I mix this with target marketing and some other marketing concepts, how could I pull this thing together and create this different way of doing things that works for me and therefore would work for others. And so in my little tinkering shop for about 18 months, that's where I was really experimenting with different concepts and relationships. And all the while I had been building this power partner network of people that I knew, liked, and trusted, and who really understood what I was doing in my business. And I understood what they were doing, and I would support them. So anytime that they had, a course coming up or something coming up, I would share it for them online. Or if they had, they took a new direction, I would introduce them to potential clients, or I would introduce them to other power partners that I thought could help them. Or I would share with them a resource. And I just started serving other people and really figuring out, okay, this feels really good for me. I'm doing a lot more here doing this service than I am just going to an event and, maybe possibly running into someone that this person needs at some point in time. And instead, now I'm getting to know these people really well. And I understand, and I know when I'm sitting in front of their potential client, I'm like, you've got to talk to Keri. Like, this is an immediate thing. So I would make introductions and beautiful things would start to happen immediately. Right. So that was really the inception of what started this power partner concept. And when I launched the Dames, it was my power partners that brought their friends. And I would say, hey, my nucleus of my community, these are the kinds of women I'm looking for to come to the Dames. Who do you know that's a dynamo woman that's running a 6 or 7 figure business and wants community and doesn't want to be business card stabbed and doesn't want to be, no offense, but bombarded by 57 multi-level marketing companies in one night. And please bring them to the next event. Here's a personalized invite. I mean, it started out grassroots, it was like graphics that I created and social media events, and that's how we built it. But each time, more and more of my power partner network would show up and would bring people to these events. And that's really the inception. And to this day, we still, at 500 members, knock wood, but I don't know why I had to knock wood, we still have not done any paid advertising. We have been building and growing based on our power partner network, people referring people in. Watch this space to see what the sky's the limit when we do turn that outside marketing juice on. But really it's helped me create such a cultivated network, and it will continue to be that way even if we do any kind of paid advertising, because we have ways of using our application and our roundtables to filter the right people in, so that we have quality over quantity. So that power partner concept is now something that we teach to all of our members. It's individually different based on your business. Even being able to identify who your best power partners are based on your business, your target market, your goals is different, and it's personalized to you and your company. And then what you do with that, we have, ways of helping you really build relationships that are long lasting and that do create referrals for you, and that you create referrals for your power partners, that do create opportunities for masterminding those challenges that you're going through in business. Those relationships do create business bestie relationships like you and I have built. They create all of these amazing things, but they start from this nucleus of being strategic about the way that you network and connecting with certain types of people, and then seeing if there's an energetic resonance to move forward with building these long-term, high quality relationships that result in, infinite amounts of leads that you generate for one another, and so much satisfaction just from the relationship and the masterminding and everything else that comes along with it.
So true. And it's also like, to come back to, and I know we have to wrap up, but to come back to like what you were saying, what we were talking about, and knowing who we serve as a community. This is the same thing. And I know that for me, like when we look for power partners, and I say this to like wrap this to help people know exactly kind of what you're talking about. It's like, if you are in sales, right? If you're in sales, you're going to need a marketing team. So like, who are the people that you can work with? If you're in real estate, you're going to need some people who are like lawyers, And so for me, even part of like the journey of, oh wait, trust fund babies aren't 100%. But the more that I talked about it, it was like, wait a minute, 6 to 7 figure people in business, they've really done a great job of growing their money, but they don't know how to hold on to it. And most people look at me like, yeah, you're right. And so then that became like a really clear, like, oh, so that's what I'm doing. Right. I can do that. And there's a lot of you in the world. Right. So that now people know, like, if this is the thing, right? So I can now say to people, okay, so your business coach, your clients are doing freaking kick ass now, and they're making more money, but like, they don't energetically know how to hold it. So then here, Keri, let's work with them energetically on this piece. Right. And so people know, and it's really specific. It's really specific. It's not like, I just help every single person do all the things. And
right. And to just give another clear example for people, if you think about yourself and your business and where you serve your clients, and you look upstream from you and you think, who else have my clients worked with before they come to me? And then you think downstream from you, who do they need to work with after they work with me? On both the upstream and the downstream side, that's one place. We have 4 ways of identifying power partners, but that's one of the 4 ways you can think about who could those power partners be. So like Keri said, if you know what your focus is, and you know what your gift is, and you know who your target market is, it's much easier to identify who your best power partners are that are already working with your clients, and you're already working with their clients. And now it becomes this understanding of, okay, we need to help each other out by cross-referring business and really identifying each other's gifts and understanding what are the times that I need to say, hey, you need to work with Keri, and so much more.
So much more. All right. So tell people where they meet up with you, how they find you. I know that I'm an affiliate for the Dames. I don't even remember how that works. If I have a link, do I have a link for it? Do I have a code?
Yep, you do. We should make sure that goes in the show notes.
We'll put that link into the show notes so you guys can go find it and you can come join if you're aligned. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And how do they reach out to you otherwise, if they want to know more about the Dames, if they want to find you on social medias, how do they reach out to you?
Yes. If you love social media, we are at the Dames Co. So the Dames Co. That's our handle on Instagram. We have a LinkedIn page and then our Facebook page as well. And then if you would like to experience the Dames, you can come to thedames.co/roundtable. If you are a woman who runs a 6 or 7 figure business, or in a director, VP, or higher position of a large organization, we have these great experiential virtual events that you can come and experience the reverse mullet, experience the business community side of things. And that's the best way to find us. And if you want to connect with me personally, just use Keri's name or the Wealth Alchemist in your friend request. Feel free to friend request me on Facebook or LinkedIn. I won't accept you if you haven't said where this is coming from, because I have way too many people that have reached out, and I just got through doing a cleansing of the friends list not too long ago, and I don't want to do that again. So let me know where you're coming from, and I'd love to connect with you.
I love that you said that. And is there anything else that you would like to leave anybody with? Any other quick last minute thoughts?
Just follow your knowing, follow your intuition, follow that voice that however it communicates to you, if it's auditorily, visually, in a knowing, whatever it is, get very clear on that and follow that, because it won't guide you astray, even though sometimes it feels a little crazy. That's the truth that's in you. And it will bring you so much joy and satisfaction if you just listen to it.
So true. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, my dear, beautiful friend, Meghann. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor to have you on here. This has been so full of, like, if people just listen to any piece of this, you guys, seriously, this has been so full of gold nuggets to build your community, to really show up and create that which you desire in your business and in your world. I'm so grateful for having you on here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Keri. This was a blast. I appreciate you. Mwah.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you love what you heard, please help us get this message out to more people, because together we rise. Please review it, subscribe to the show, and share on social media. When you share, please tag me. On Insta, I'm at Keri Norley, and on Facebook, I'm facebook.com/Keri Norley 1, or Keri Kaplan Norley is my official name there. Please come and connect with me on social media and say hello. I love hearing from my listeners. And thank you so much for your support. I'm so excited to help you bring in the new wealth.